I don't think Rory's going to be unowned. I most definitely think Hideki will be more owned than Rory. I don't even think there's going to be...
I would bet heavily on the Rory side.
$100?
Yep. We can do that
in the Big 20?
$100 in the Big 20. Rory's more owned than Hideki.
I think that Hideki's going to be more owned than Rory. I think that you're forgetting that the entire narrative about last week was Scheffler, how can he lose? Mm-hmm. The narrative around Rory is Rory, how can he win?
The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog Fantasy. Code Mayo at Underdog Fantasy right now. Get you a deposit match of up to $100 and unlocks an extra free square just for people who use code Mayo during Masters Week. You will get a Jordan Spieth higher or lower than 0.5 strokes for the first round at the Masters to go along with the special offer that Underdog is giving away with Scotty Scheffler, higher or lower than 0.5 strokes for Thursday. So you can build two separate entries using those ones. You can't put them together, but you can build two separate entries, getting the free square on both of them to hopefully turn that into even more cash. We're breaking down DraftKings. We're doing an Underdog draft, final bets, the weather, ownership, everything on today's show for the Valero Texas Open. Tambo in studio with me from shipitnation.com to break this all down. I got lucky last week, by the way.
I know you did. And what are you talking about?
I was just in the 250. I got lucky. I ended up cashing and just because I had Scheffler, Taylor Moore, and Dietrich, and that was good enough for a 5 of 6 to squeak through. Yeah,
we talked a little bit about Monday. Kenny and I just going through it too with that pricing still the way it is. Like it's starting to lean to, you can find out some more formats, like setting up your lineup construction. And he got away with like Campos at 5,200 because he literally had everything else perfect with the other 5. So it's like really the 4 is all he needed. He ended up like a top 1% finish because of 5 guys coming through for him. So it's just one of those things with the new pricing, you can find different angles in.
Yeah, we're going to jump into an Underdog draft here for round 1 of the Valero Texas Open on Underdog. Again, code Mayo to jump in there. And there is the Albatross still needing to fill that, $10 per entry, $150 max. There's $50K to first place, and that's major season only. I'll be doing a few of those drafts during the evening over the next week or so. So come join me and draft against me and take all my money like Tambo does every week.
You wanted to get, that's what I was going to say. You got lucky.
Head-to-head?
I thought that's what you were going to start with again because it was going my way and then it ended up going your way by the end of it again.
That was the lineup that I put into the 250, I think.
Yeah, just unbelievable stuff. And that was the one that I out-projected you by like almost 30 points.
Yeah.
Projection, sometimes just a guideline, we'd say, piece of the puzzle.
Sometimes. Mm-hmm. We'll see about that. I should probably post that we're drafting right now. I forgot to do that.
Yes, that'll help. We'll get it filled up and go with it. But
we're waiting for 2 people here. I want to talk about the weather, the very first thing to talk about. I'm using the Wind Finder Garden Ridge is the place that I'm using for the TPC Oaks course in San Antonio.
Yeah.
It's hard to locate on the map. It wasn't hard to locate on the map, but to match up the Wind Finder map with like the Google map was a lot tougher than I thought. Taking a look at the super forecast for Thursday, it looks to be like pretty consistent all day, like a little bit of wind, maybe a little less at the very, very tippy top of the morning, but then it just kind of picks up. It's not like those guys are not going to see any wind. And then on Friday, it just looks like a lot of wind all day.
Yeah, it is the Valero Texas Open, and as we saw last week, I'm sure you saw the stats. People posted it out. You can just stack waves and get away with it. Like last week, I think 10 of the top 13,
which I do anyway,
were AM PM. So it's like it just can work out in your favor. Trying to peg it, like right now, honestly, it kind of looks. I'm not pegging it for this, but just you could see where people would go PM AM again because sometimes a little bit in the afternoon on Thursday, less wind, and then Friday afternoon looks like a little bit more, but it's still windy all throughout the day, and the gusts are actually higher in the morning. So I wouldn't say there's any major value there.
So we filled up the Underdog draft room. We're going to start in about 40 seconds. The Pat Mayo Experience Classic is on Underdog right now. There's just 504 entries are available. $15, I think, or $20 per. Yeah, it's $20 per entry, but it's all rake-free money. So there's over $10,000 of rake-free guaranteed money in the prize pool. It is the best tournament in all of DFS right now. So get your ass into it. All right. And if you use Fantasy National right now, if you haven't signed up for Fantasy National, you get the leaderboard app along with your subscription right now. But if you get the weekly today on Wednesday, using fantasynational.com/Mayo to get that 20% off. I think it's like $6 or $7 for a weekly. You get all of Valero to make your lineups tonight, and then you get the next 7 days as well, so you can build all your Masters stuff. The Masters information is already loaded in. You can use the Masters scroll on the side if you want to search Masters stats only. So now is a fantastic time to go sign up at Fantasy National. I mean, Tambo, it's worth it for the leaderboard alone. Did you finally use it?
No, still haven't. I just I mean,
It's
not anything.
easy. It's 2 clicks.
Yeah, I just didn't get too involved last week. I got a lot going on right now, so I'm trying to work through it all. But nobody cares. Work harder. We keep after it. But lots of things to take care of, so I didn't get to the app yet.
You've drawn the 5th pick.
Yeah, I get worse every week somehow.
I got 4th this time.
But it's interesting because I do get to do almost the, I get a 5th and then go right after T Royalty here. So we'll see what it looks like on the wraparound.
Well, I ended up with I think I had the 5th pick in the first one. It's only a 3 max entry in the Pat Mayo Classic, and I got the 5th pick last night, and I didn't love my team. Hopefully from the 4 spot. Rory, Ludwig 1-2. Do you think? And Hideki goes 3. So now it's on to me immediately. Who would you take here? Connors, Homa, Morikawa, Spieth, or Fitzpatrick?
Probably not Connors.
Not Connors?
No, I'm going to let that go this week, I think. We'll see.
All right. I'm going to go with Morikawa. Because even when we get to the DraftKings pricing a little bit later on in the DraftKings ownership, it just seems like people are out. Because I thought that Homa would be the guy that comes in with absolutely no ownership, but I think it's going to be Morikawa instead.
It's definitely possible. He's a guy that's pot on free that I thought at the start of the week, but now it's like there's no chance. So I think I'm going to go with Spieth here.
Really? See, I'm out on Spieth.
Yeah.
Bigly this week for reasons because he can't hit an iron to save his life. That's usually the week he gains like 13 strokes putting.
I'm just so over it now. The way this year's gone, it doesn't matter. Like every week it's, this guy can't do this because this happened here. And then next thing you know, they're crushing. So it's like one of those things. Spieth, Texas, he's literally won here before. It's the week for the Masters. People, all this Masters prep shit. Like the year Spieth won this tournament, like 3 years ago, that's the word that everyone's saying. Oh, no. Just going to be a tune up for the Masters. There's no way. No, he's here to win. And if he's in contention, he's going to get after it. Like in the mix going into the weekend, he's going to try and win.
I'm always curious about that, like the Masters prep, because obviously it's not Masters prep that they're doing this week. They're just trying to get their games to peak and play really well. So winning would actually be great. Playing well would be great for this week. I think it happened once that like Phil was like halfway out of a tournament in Houston the week before the Masters. And then he just started hitting like really goofy shots all the time. And like after the round, he's like, oh yeah, those are some of the shots that I'll see next week at Augusta.
It's what happens, yes.
But then everyone just ran with that narrative over time. Like, oh, that's all people are doing.
It's exactly that. People say that after because there is like spots where they can practice certain shots. And that's what ends up becoming the conversation.
Fleetwood or Harmon?
Probably Fleetwood.
Okay, I'll take Tommy in this one. I took Harmon in my one last night. He's another one that inside the DraftKings pricing this week, and even on the betting board. I mean, I bet him to win at Valspar 2 weeks ago at a much worse number than this, although the field wasn't as good as it is this week at Valero. But I was just kind of shocked. I know there's a lot of steam on Noren and Billy Horschel right now, but it was kind of jarring to see Harmon fall behind those guys in terms of like the betting board and even like DraftKings ownership where they're all right around the same relative price. Like Harmon's just playing better.
Yeah, Harmon's a bit annoying. He's like, we joked about him being the little big game hunter. And it's like the guy shows up in the stronger fields at the toughest courses. But then when he is the strength of the field, meaning that he's in a worse strength of field and he should be one of the better players, it's like he doesn't seem to come through like you would expect him based on the other results. So see how it goes here. This week's a little bit more balanced. It's not quite the weakest field and it's not the strongest field.
J Dip 17 just snaked Akshay from me, who I really wanted. How do you feel about Adam Scott this week?
I like him.
You like him? Do you like him or Henley more? Actually, Harmon's still on the board for me, so I'm going to take Harmon.
Yeah.
So you're on the clock with your 2 picks. I'll recap the first 3 rounds of the draft. So Rory goes first, then it's Ludwig, Hideki, Morikawa to me, Spieth to you, and then at the turn it goes Connors and Homa, which is actually a really nice start for this tournament. You back end Spieth with Noren. I get Morikawa and Fleetwood, so I just have a bag of losers on my team. Keith Mitchell goes after that. Keith Mitchell goes ahead of Fitzpatrick, Ben Ann, English, and Eric Cole, who are all the next picks. Then Bhatia goes at the back end of the 3rd round. Then I get Brian Harman. I get Brian Harman after Bhatia, Cole. I mean, I bet English, so I get that one. Ben Ann. I'm surprised about that like Bhatia and Cole would go ahead of it. Maybe it's one of these situations where, I don't know, Justin knows that I'm probably going to take Akshay with either my next pick or the one before. And then I then he won't be able to get him because I would have him boxed out. So you took Adam Scott.
I took the two guys you had me compare.
And so, yeah.
I got both of them.
This is the lowest I've seen Horschel fall. So Horschel and Rye go at the turn. You get Adam Scott and Russell Henley as kind of a wraparound there. I like that a lot, actually. I'm going to take Mav McNeely. Another guy that I liked at Valspar. I bet him at Valspar. It's not like he played poorly. And you know what you're getting from Mav McNeely. You're getting a guy who can't hit his irons, but drives it really well and can chip and putt the lights out. So if it does play a little bit tougher, I think that Matt McNeely could be really good here.
Yeah. The other thing I wonder about, too, because we've talked about this in the past with this setup and the format, is like Bo Hostler, EVR, guys that are just keep sitting there. It's like, this is still, we're looking for a spike round. Like, let's get that. They may not even make the cut. They may pull like a full Keegan, come out and have a great first round and then just disappear after that. But it feels like a lot of people are selecting based on who they think is going to win the tournament or who's going to do all that. And it is just one round of golf. So I still have interesting guys like that as we go down the board. Tom Kim, Denny McCarthy, like these guys can just spike around depending on how it goes, regardless of what they've been doing lately.
So I think in the first lineup that I did last night, because this is the point where I take like the four, like quote unquote, like good players that I have, then I just go off the board with my two guys just to try to isolate someone that no one else has. I took Kuchar and Charlie Hoffman. Two great first round players, if there ever was one, and they both like dominate at this tournament historically.
Yeah.
Kuch, I was like, oh, Kuch is probably like in pretty good form. I remember his 3 holes at the Players Championship where he was really good. He has not been good.
He's not. I wonder his history coming in, though. Like, he's really been good the last 3 years. Even if you thought Kuchar hasn't done shit for the last 3 years, or really not overall, it's like you could go back and look and see that too. But I think he's fine. It's just more of coming into this course might be better for him. So I'll have to wait and see.
So I'm going off the board here because it went Ryan Moore, who's going to be very popular this week, Eckroat, Hostler, Vic Perez. I'm going to take Chez Reavie, whose iron game continues to click. And when I went back and watched last year's, he shot a 65 in the final round. I was like, oh, Chez might be able to figure out these greens for a round. I don't know how much I like him like for an entire tournament on DraftKings this week, but I think for a single round, he's the type of guy that I do want to isolate with. And then you end up taking Tom Kim. The other ones that I was looking at was like Novak, Chandler Phillips, Kuchar, Hoffman, but I already used those two, so I'll rotate other guys through. Bamford brought up Max Gracerman on the show, and just the irons have been really good for him. Overall, he's been really good, and he played really well in Texas on the Korn Ferry Tour as well. That maybe he's a guy that I should be looking at.
Yeah, I got like him. Well, we saw Joe Highsmith do all right last week. Jacob Bridgman's been coming through. Some of those guys have been showing up. Obviously, Nick Dunlap again after getting the win as an amateur earlier this season. He showed up a little bit there too. A lot of short game, but still.
It was, but it was interesting with Dunlap that this was the first non-elevated event he's played since he won at the American Express.
Nick Dunlap might be your Sam Bennett. Remember you wanted Sam Bennett to be a thing, and now
Maybe
he's not really
Sam
showing
Bennett
up?
made the cut, didn't he?
I think so.
I think he like gagged on the weekend, but he got through.
Oh, EVR got taken.
EVR and Fowler both go. I totally forgot Fowler was in this field.
Yeah.
And additionally, to kind of back on your point, Gracerman, Highsmith, that other guy that you said, they are legitimately all the same guy in my mind.
Right.
Like I see one of them pop up.
They're showing up on paper like that too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Joe Highsmith. I mean, he's been great the last like 3 tournaments. Like, actually, he hasn't. He's been good one of the last 3. Yeah. Gracerman was good at one of the 3, and the other guy was good at one of the 3. It's like, I just think they're all the same guy.
Yeah, at most one in your optimizers, if you want to do it that way and just take whoever you get. I think some people even put Chandler Phillips in the same pool. Like he's the same guy too.
But he's actually been playing a little bit better than all these guys.
Him and maybe him and David Skins are the same guy. Like you just throw him, it's like, oh, they've popped up at a couple of these tournaments. Maybe that's the case.
So David Skins has popped up. He popped up at Honda and he popped up last week. But to see him on TV, because it's not like, we have a lot of history with 41-year-old David Skins.
Right.
He looks like a guy you would randomly see on the Golf Channel when you're watching like the early coverage on a Saturday or Sunday, and then it flips over to like NBC or CBS, and then the senior tour is on all of a sudden, but you don't notice. Yeah. I thought that happened to me when I was watching David Skins. Like, this guy looks fucking 60 years old.
You turn it on, you're like, oh shit, wrong one. Why the coverage is always so bad? Why can't I just get the PGA Tour? And then it's like the PGA Tour leaderboard flashes up. You're like, oh shit, that's David Skins. I get it now.
So we finish off the draft. I took Gracerman with my last pick.
I took Davis Thompson.
You took Davis Thompson.
My last pick. Maybe I like this guy. You liked him to start.
I was going to say, I always get this sort of thing where, like, I love Davis Thompson. You bring him up every week.
I think Tom Kim and him were the guys that I was talking about, though. For, again, EVR fit the list, your Gracerman pick, all these ones where it's like, I have interest in these guys in this format. I'm good with, like, Spieth, Noren, Adam Scott, Henley. Like, who cares? Those are good plays to me, whether it's one round, multiple, whatever. Tom Kim and Davis Thompson are sort of I feel, good spots for guys that I liked in off the boards. You took Gracerman, and who's the other guy you took second last?
Gracerman and
Maybe is it Grazerman or Gracerman? I wonder.
who cares?
Who cares?
When he wins, we'll figure it out. I took Chez Reavie.
That was the other one. So you went off the board with those two. I went off the board with Kim and Thompson. So it's probably fine. I don't mind doing that on those last picks. You never. What's your best? I know yours don't separate because you did other ones, but what's your best projected right now when you go under your completed drafts and then the right side up top says completed and you click the Pat Mayo Classic?
Drafts completed. Pat Mayo Classic. My highest projected one is 162.6.
And mine is 162.1. And I don't know if you see your one from today. If you
I do.
find
It's 160.3 for me. But that's probably because I have Gracerman and Chez Reavie.
Yeah.
In those
So
ones.
really, you could be better off because you got guys that people would probably think are worse, but they're still projecting fine there. So that's good.
Yeah, my team from last night was Morikawa, Harris English, Bhatia, Aaron Rai, Kuchar, and Charlie Hoffman.
I like that team.
Yeah, that has an upside to it. That
Hoffman's
has
gonna
being
do
dead
something.
That
Hoffman's
has
gonna do
dead
something
last
first
written all
round.
over it too, though.
It's possible.
I somehow have Morikawa on both these teams. Maybe it's just because I'm not as out on Morikawa because I love Morikawa. Doesn't this seem like a really good Morikawa course though?
It definitely could be, but we've done that years before. Remember the year at the Players, like 2 years ago? I was like, oh, I'm saving him. It's the first time. It's a huge pool. I got to save Morikawa for the Players. Ball strikers paradise. And then I think he just let everybody down completely. It's not the case here because not everybody wants him this week. So that's the difference maker. So I'm in on Morikawa as well. On DraftKings, what's his number to bet? Did you look at it?
It's 32 right now.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I know. Like, and that's like I haven't really pulled the trigger on that many wagers so far. Like we'll get to to finalize my betting card. I probably won't do that until the newsletter tonight because I have no long shots on the card, and I do want to take a long shot or two. I bet the guys that I bet on the Best Bet show with Vincenzi and Steve Bamford yesterday. If you haven't checked that out, like Eric Barnes top 40 at almost 3-1, like things like that. But in order to outright win, I bet on Hideki. And then I cashed it out and used my 30% boost to get him up to 26-1. So Hideki at 26, Harris English at 45, Thigala at not Thigala, sorry, that's a Masters wager. I have Bhatia at 65, and I have Nikolai Højgaard at 90-1. Those are the four bets that I have in outright right now. But I could easily add Morikawa at 32 to that list.
Just cut it off. Yeah, maybe even another long shot if you want in there.
Yeah, I could throw in, like, there's a couple guys that I'm looking at from down the. I'll probably end up betting Bud Cully because I just bet Bud Cully every week at this point.
Yep.
But, like, Fitz is 30. Morikawa is 32. Harmon is 37. Fleetwood is 37. Henley, you can get up to 55. Like, I think that all of those are good numbers on these guys for this particular field. It just seems like everyone thinks that Ludwig is going to win.
Yeah, we can already tell what's going to happen right now. Everyone's, Ludwig is going to be people that already talk about Ludwig being the next Rory, starting out hot as with his young career, European, coming over, doing his thing, already on a Ryder Cup team, all these other factors. And you know what's going to happen? The week everyone thinks that the new Rory wins, the actual Rory. The week before the Masters, get all the hype built in there for Augusta National and everything that's going on, the Grand Slam. It's definitely a possibility here. So I have more interest in Rory as the week went on, even though I'm actually seeing his ownership looking like it could just be up there based on the pricing again.
You think that Rory?
It's not going to be like Scottie Scheffler levels at all, not even close. I'm saying, but I don't think at the start of the week when I was first thinking it, when people are looking at Rory's recent finishes, they're going to say 25th, 21st, what all these numbers are not good enough. And now that you see the pricing, the 6K range is the new sevens. Like there's so many guys right down to 6K flat. Not to mention, you could even make cases. I know you'll make cases today for guys in the 5Ks, no problem. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you got to take your stands, I think. But for the overall concept and roster construction, I definitely think Rory still gets pumped up due to the setup we have here.
I also bet Dustin Johnson 15-1 on Live and Paul Casey 27-1 at Doral on Live.
Did you get any of the double doubles?
I didn't get any of the double doubles. I mean, I could get the double doubles. I just
the DJ double if you go DJ, or I saw some Bryson's, Brooks's.
Okay, listen, I could see Bryson, I could see Brooks, I could see DJ, and listen, I'll put myself out here. Bryson's not winning Augusta,
no.
So you're throwing your money away.
What about the Rom?
No.
You think the Masters is going to be nuts this year?
I don't think so. I mean, I hope it's not nuts. I hope Thigala wins because then I'll win a boatload of cash.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic news. But other than that, I feel more comfortable with the Masters this year coming in just because everything I usually have a whole bunch of bets by this time and the market was so bad in the futures right now. And it's been bad for the past few years, but it's especially egregious this year that I just kind of stayed away from it all. So I don't have I kind of wish I had the Neiman 90, but I'm not going to bet Neiman at 30. Like, I don't think that Niemann is going to win the Masters. So at 90, you have a long shot on your hands, like whatever. You don't expect that to win. We know he has the upside to do it. I'm not saying that he can't win the Masters. I just don't think that he is going to win the Masters.
Niemann Theegala card is nice, just to kick it off at those numbers you got and stuff. Like that's, you don't have Niemann, but you said like with Theegala, but I'm saying if you had that, that's a nice little start to your card. Those two guys. But I'm most excited as a fan. I mean, like I've never had this much anticipation. I think the product has been horrible this year. So, I mean, I'm only speaking for myself. I've been open about it. People hate on it. I get it. Like, I thought last week was terrible. I thought the week before.
You thought last week was terrible? We had
sure.
like 9 guys who could have won, and they were all just firing at each other. It was awesome. That course was cool, too.
Yeah, I don't know. The course was great. The setup was good. I still feel like it's lacking, and the ratings show it, too. Like, I don't think everyone's tuning in anymore. Like, it's been bad. And I've had sweats in these spots. I had 2 huge sweats over Saturday night last week, and they didn't come through, but it was like, I still wasn't like hyped for that. I was easily able to do what I had to do on Sunday. It was Easter. It was my daughter's birthday. Some other stuff going on, and then came back and watched the last 10 holes, and it was good. And I'm a super fan. I love golf. I'm just saying it's not doing it. The Scotty thing was like so lackluster at the end. You know, the coverage again, like the Finau stuff. Like I don't know, Finau missed a 2-footer or whatever. That was fine, but like I'm a Steven Jagerbaum's fan. Love that guy. Awesome to see the moment at the end and him to get the win. But I don't know. I'm super excited, as everyone probably is for these majors, because it's going to be good to get it all back together again. That's really what we want.
Well, I wonder if that's going to be a product of this as well, because I saw that the Caitlin Clark Elite 8 game ended up with like over 12 million viewers. That's like Masters Sunday type ratings.
Yeah.
And this was kind of my stance last year, is we're going to see an eventual decline in all these PGA Tour events because there's only 4 tournaments that matter anymore. Mm-hmm. So why, if you're even on even someone like you who's not a casual whatsoever, but imagine if you were a casual fan, they're like, well, I only really have to pay attention 3 times throughout the course of the year, or 4 times throughout the course of the year. I'll tune in then. I bet you those ratings go up. The majors ratings go up while everything else goes down.
It should. I mean, like I said, that's why I was asking. You think it's gonna be crazy? That was part of what, like I'm talking, like the anticipation for me is super high. Like I want to see all these guys in the mix again, and I just can't wait for it. Like Brooks, Rahm, DJ, Cam Smith, these dudes that are all going to be in the mix with all the guys that are all playing well right now. And can they, what's it going to look like with Scotty? Is he going to come through? Does Rory show up this week? And then we get even more hype going into next week. That's why I'm so excited. I know everybody is, but for me, it's just going to be much better than what we're working with. This week is decent though. Like the field is balanced. As I said, it's Rory who's not Scotty up top and not playing like him right now. And then it's guys throughout the middle and right down even into the 8K range or in the 60 and 70 range with your betting. You're still getting opportunity and guys there that you could see come out of nowhere. So I feel like we can get a good week this week.
Well, let's have a good week. We're going to, I wave stack every week, but we're definitely wave stacking this week, right?
For sure. Yeah, in Texas, I always do.
All right, so one and done. I took Harris English on the show in the 3-man. Billy Ho went to Feinberg, and Cuss took Byung-Hun An. But in terms of the overall race for the Mayo Cup, where I'm sitting 500th right now, I have Harmon, Ludwig, Homa, Fleetwood, Hideki, Morikawa, and Spieth, Henley, and Fowler all available to me right now.
Is Ludwig going to be popular in that this week as well, you think?
I would think so, because I doubt, because no one's really going to use him next week. Mm-hmm. He's a first-timer at the Masters. And saving him for next week might actually be like a play.
Oh, there's got to be so many better guys, plus the live guys.
Sure, but no one's going to use Oberg.
Oh, for sure. I agree there on that. That's definite. But
I would want to use him at some sort of elevated event, because I do think he gets a win at some point this year. Hopefully it's in one of these stronger fields. Like Harmon really sticks out to me as like, where else am I going to use Brian Harmon? The Travelers? That's basically it. Mm-hmm. So maybe that.
The Connors chalk is there this week for sure.
What's that?
Connors chalk.
Connors chalk, Harris English chalk, Billy Ho. Like people don't want to waste someone really good in this event because the prize pool isn't all that high. But like I could see a sub 1% Morikawa in the one and done. Like where am I really saving him for? Mm-hmm. If I think that he could go out and win and get him at no ownership this week, do I just roll the dice on that? I might do that actually.
Yeah, I do like that call. It's what fun we talk through it, because what are we saving him for?
Yeah.
Like you can play him at a bunch of different places. Maybe if you're waiting for better form or something like that. But at the same time, like what else are you saving him for? I have no idea.
Yeah, like you could use Hideki if you wanted to. Like I bet Hideki to win, but I think that he might win a major this year. So I kind of want. I'd probably use him next week.
Hideki, I was just gonna say, would be the interesting one for next week.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like it's not like sneaky. It's like, but there is going to be so many people using the live
The
guys.
live guy, injecting the live guys back into this and knowing you only get to use them 4 times is just going to crush everyone. And a lot of people have used Scheffler already, so Scheffler's kind of off the board for most people.
One thing I want to say about that, actually, I'll get your take quick because we're talking about it, is I think everyone thinks not using Rahm next week and saving him for the U.S. Open is sneaky. And I don't think it is. I think that's actually how a lot of people are thinking. Like, well, yeah, Rahm has to see, well, it's better to let him settle in. Let's just see, I'll save him for that. I think more people next week use a Brooks, a DJ, somebody like that, or go to some of these other PGA guys.
If you wanted to use the live guys and like you kind of isolated in your mind, I'm going to use the live guys at the majors to get max value out of my one and done to save the better players for other elevated events. Because it's not like the Masters pays way more than winning the Heritage the following week kind of thing. Although that field is a little bit bigger and more players can win at Harbour Town, weirdly enough.
Yep.
It's not just the big guys. But I would use Rahm at the Masters or Cam Smith at the Masters or save Cam Smith for the Open. And I would just be Brooks and Bryson or DJ, PGA or US Open, like those guys. Dustin maybe next week, just because he's won the Masters before. Like, there's no way in hell I'm using Bryson next week. Right. But when I wrote, because I finally finished those power rankings. Oh, okay. So I submitted the column to Golf Digest, and I'm 95% done filming the show for it. It'll come out tomorrow. I'm excited to release. We have brand new graphics for it. Yeah. It's fantastic. So thank you, everyone who helped contribute to this. It's taken up a lot of my time.
It's going to be awesome.
And I filmed a rankings debate show with Hennessy and Chris Powers from Golf Digest and just took them to the tool shed. It was hilarious.
Okay. I'm excited.
They were not prepared for me to come in and defend every point I had written down. But I'm the guy who wrote everything down, so I'm well aware of what the
knew this
points
was going to happen. That's what I said to you pre-show last week. I was like, this is going to be great for engagement. People are just going to love it. And I said, whoever has to go up against you on this is going to be in for it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it a lot. And, like, it's almost like when we do the rankings debate for football with Jake. Like, I've thought about it at that point of the week, and he hasn't, so he's just being reactive to everything. So I try to catch people when they're unprepared. Well, I'm prepared. It makes me seem like I really know what's going on, even though I'm always wrong about all of this stuff. But I kind of wrote that. Bryson's, unless it's at St. Andrews, he has no chance at the Open. He has no chance at the Masters. But he should be one of the top 5 favorites to win the PGA and US Open every year. Like, that's just how those courses set up. Perfect. I don't know if Pinehurst necessarily sets up perfect for his game, but the US Open layout in general, long, tough, where, like, when you get to the Open, there's a bunch of wind and there's a bunch of hills everywhere. Like, Bryson can't figure that shit out. He's like a robot person. You can't play Royal Troon on the simulator and have it reflect anything like real life, just like Augusta. But if you go to Wingfoot, you can. So I would save him for that. I would save Brooks for one of them. I mean, if he has 5 major championships and he's only won 2 of the major championships, not to say that he can't win the Masters. I most definitely think he can win the Masters.
Almost did last year.
I do think he's a better bet at the other 2 in terms of probability.
Yes. And when we have all the other options, still it's the first major of the year, so just finish it out. I mean, that's the key, too. You have all the options at the first major of the year.
Maybe I'll go with Morikawa in 1.
I think I'm going to go with Kawa.
And Tommy Fleetwood in my other entry, which is actually getting better. Like, I started donking off my picks with, like, long shots because I was in, like, 3,500th place. And now I'm in, like, inside the top 1,800 in that one. I've actually been doing well with that one.
You stop caring.
My good one has started to go down, and my shitty one has started to go up because I've just been throwing away those picks.
Nothing worse.
I was like, well, I need to start taking guys that no one else takes. And getting a Scheffler win at an elevated event propped me up so much in the other one that it really worked out well in my favor. Head over to Underdog Fantasy right now. Get that deposit match of up to $100. But if you use code Mayo with the Masters coming up, we got some extra special bonuses for you on top of everything. If you use code Mayo right now at UnderdogFantasy.com, you will unlock not 1, but 2 free squares for Masters Week. You'll get the Scotty Scheffler free square that everyone is getting, higher or lower than 0.5 strokes on Thursday. However, by using code Mayo, you unlock the Jordan Spieth free square for Thursday, higher or lower than 0.5 strokes as well. Those will become available Tuesday of Masters Week, but get in now at Underdog Fantasy using code Mayo to make sure that you have the best advantages possible. All right, let's jump over to some DraftKings lineups. Let's build. Well, we already talked about the weather. The PM AM looks slightly more advantageous, but I'll build both sides because this is the tournament that will always live in infamy in everyone's mind, Tambo. 2015, when one side got wiped out.
Was it the Kevin Chappell year?
No, it was the Jimmy Walker. No, Bowditch. It was Bowditch or Jimmy Walker ended up winning.
Okay.
And two guys from the other wave finished inside the top 20. There was a 4-stroke difference between the waves on Thursday alone.
Oh, we can do some make the cut, miss the cut parlays.
Wave stack, make the cut, miss the cut?
Yeah, because it gets aggressive at times.
It can be, but we haven't seen, like, every year we're worried about this happening again, and it hasn't happened since. It's been
All right,
10
or
years.
do some top 20 parlays.
I like where you're at here.
Yeah, these are good.
You're trying to get aggressive here early on me. I appreciate that a lot. If we think about ownership this week, who are you thinking comes in as the highest owned guy? Is it Hideki, Ludwig, or Connors?
I think it's Connors or Rory.
Really, Rory?
Again, we'll have to wait and see, but I think that it's this happened last week, and I know Wyndham Clark's injury had stuff to do with that, but I mean, we were aiming for Scheffler, and it's different, but I'm saying, no, just to start it, 42, we were thinking 40 to 45, comes in closer to 50 and more in some places. It's just a product of the pricing, and also the product of the bubble that we live in. There's at least enough people in the bubble that say, like, this Ludwig ownership's just getting out of hand, or this Hideki stuff, I can just go up to Rory. And the projection sites and the betting odds and things like that are all going to lean to Rory and the higher stakes stuff, which trickles down. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I think Connors and Rory are both going to be up there for sure.
Rory might, like, I don't think Rory's going to be unowned. I most definitely think Hideki will be more owned than Rory. I don't even think there's going to be
I would bet heavily on the Rory side.
$100
Yep. We can do that
in the Big 20.
$100 in the Big 20. Rory's more owned than Hideki.
I think that Hideki's going to be more owned than Rory. I think that you're forgetting that the entire narrative about last week was Scheffler, how can he lose? Mm-hmm. The narrative around Rory is Rory, how can he win?
Yeah.
It's completely different, I think, in that way, and especially when you drop down to Hideki, who's been really good, already has the win. Even when I did my overall power rankings, I had Hideki ahead of Rory.
I think you're in big trouble because even if somehow Rory comes in lower than I think, Ludwig is going to swallow up your Matsuyama love.
He might, but I think just a lot of people start either Hideki Connors or Ludwig Connors or Hideki Ludwig.
Ludwig Connors is for sure. It's like Kenny's cash game lineup that he put out there. So I mean, that's a starting point, no doubt. I'm saying I think this is where that's why we just bet it. But I think when people get the choice of moving off Ludwig, I don't think it's to Hideki. I think it's to Rory. I think they find that cash.
I think that Hideki is just more popular than you think he is.
Maybe. We'll see.
I think that there's a potential chance that Hideki comes in higher than Ludwig.
This might be how I get all our head-to-head money back all season.
Could
We can start
be,
betting
yeah.
over-unders on ownership where I feel like I have a good grasp. We'll see. It's always tough with ownership, but I just think that's the case this week. But if you're wanting to start with the chalk, I think we go Ludwig Connors.
I agree. We can go Ludwig Connors and we can build a Hideki Connors as well, because I do think it's going to be one of those two. And I do think that people feel more comfortable with Ludwig, and where you talked about, like, when they research the betting odds and get into it, the best value on the board, betting odds versus DraftKings price, probably has to be Ludwig, because he's basically the same odds as Rory now to win this tournament.
Yeah.
One guy's 10.5 to 1, the other guy's 12 to 1, and one guy is almost $2,000 cheaper on DraftKings.
I agree. What's your guys down low though? Because there's a Noren conversation as well before we get to like the actual cheap guys where it's like Glover and whoever you pick, but Noren is going to be owned at $8,700.
So the way that I'm seeing it, above $9,000 to start off with, you have Hideki, Ludwig, and Connors. I think Connors will probably end up being the highest owned, and then Ludwig and Hideki will split. Then it will be Rory.
Okay.
After that, I think that's how this plus 9,000 range goes, and I think that those three are in a tier of their own. And then, like, Rory will be, if those guys are all 20 to 25, Rory will be like 17 to 20. Like, close.
If Rory's 17, like, this is insane. Like,
that's what I think. You're better at this than I am. That's just the way that I'm seeing the board.
Not
right
necessarily
now.
with ownership.
I'm trying
I'm just
to
saying
John Nash this out right now.
if that's the board, you should have interest in Rory in this field.
Okay.
Forget about those 20th places and just move on and just play Rory.
I mean, I do have interest, but here's where, what I'm going to do. I'm seeing Morikawa, Homa, Fitz, Spieth, and especially I want to see, this is the one because the Fleetwood ownership you can never figure out, right? Because always he comes in so much higher owned than any sort of projection because people just, when it comes down to crunch time, it's like when you get into the ballot box, you're just going to vote for the party that you always vote for. That's using Tommy Fleetwood on DraftKings.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like, do I really want to use Ben Ann or Tommy Fleet? Although Ben Ann's kind of one of those guys too. But when it comes to like Horschel and Harmon and Noren and these guys, are you really going to use those guys over Tommy? I mean, the numbers say yes, absolutely. Everyone is doing that this week. Tommy might come in with the lowest ownership of anyone above $8,500, which seems insane to think about. I mean, it's justified, but I could just see myself building lineups with Morikawa, Homa, Fitz. I mean, I don't like Spieth, so I'll fade Spieth and using Fleetwood.
I'm just flashing back to Monday because you're comparing Fleetwood and Benny and thinking about Jeff at President's Cup. He's like, remember me? Benny, April Fools. That's going to be so good because that was good content on a Monday morning. But I think that's the thing. There's some Fleetwood talk this week already anyway because the Jager Bombs win last week after 135 starts on tour. Like, is it Tommy time? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm with you on the other stuff. There's just so many other guys there. And then I don't know where Spieth is coming in at, but like Spieth, Fitz, Homa, Morikawa, that range looks to be getting overlooked up top. And all these guys are guys that I could see win here this week.
Yeah, I would set the over-under on all those guys at 10%. And I think you'd be even money on both sides.
I think Spieth ends up getting some action, but
I think he does just because he's cheaper. And when people look, and that's why Fleetwood will get some blowback as well. Like I'm on Fantasy National right now. Fleetwood's been generated in 4% of lineups. 4.
Yeah, he's not showing up much. I guess
people will pivot off of Connors and go to one of these guys.
I think it has to be Spieth, though, right? People say, well, he's got to win and great results here anyway. It's Texas, all this stuff. Like if they, and so that's to me says if you had Connors at 25. Where do people pivot to is like to a Jordan Spieth at 15 plus because that's where it ends up landing due to the people that are pivoting, right? They're going to lean to that side before Tommy still. So I like your Tommy call down below.
Yeah, I would rather play Tommy than Spieth anyway this week. So I'll put Tommy in the player pool, make it easy on myself.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm seeing from up top. Then you have this collection of 3 guys. One of them is going to be lower than we think, and one of them is going to be higher than we think. But Ann, Horschel, and Noren are all generating a bunch of ownership right now.
Noren is off the charts. Like he's up there.
Do you think it's going to be Noren over Horschel?
I think it's going to be Noren for sure.
So it's probably Ben Ann who gets the hit. April Fool's, Benny!
Yeah, it's going to be. I actually think Horschel gets the hit. Horschel gets squeezed because of Benny and Noren.
Okay. I can most definitely see it. But you think that Noren is the one that probably is over what we think?
Yes.
Okay. But those 3 guys will be, I mean, Noren might push 20 if that's the case. And the other guys are probably like 13-ish.
Yeah.
13 to 15.
That's right now where I would have it somewhere in that thought process. Yeah.
Okay. And then right after that, like the only other one that's generating really any sort of buzz in the 8s is Harris English. But just with the way that the ownership is laying itself out right now, it's going to be hard to use a $8,300 Harris English if you're using 3 of these guys. Like it's impossible to make lineups. It's not impossible, but
if you go Ludwig, Connors, Noren, just let's say Noren's our pick in that range, and then you put like Glover, who's definitely we'll get to in a second. We get to the 7K range. You actually still have an average of over 7,000.
Yeah.
So and there's tons of guys in the 6s this week that are 7K guys.
So he could be the guy that you go up to. But what I'm seeing more of, rather than Harris English, is at the very top of the 7s, where you got Seabez, Aaron Rai, Bhatia, and Keith Mitchell, who all project over 10% at this point. And again, one of them will get left behind, one of them will spike, and the other 2 will remain somewhat static. And I would bet. I bet on Bhatia, and people just love to tail Pat Mayo's winning bets all the time. Yeah, probably going to use Bhatia.
He's going to get the love. I think Mitchell's going to get. Mitchell even got squeezed a couple weeks ago when it was like a better spot for him. Was it? I forget what event it was, but he ended up coming in at like 10 or 9% in some places when people thought he would be higher. Ended up doing all right. That was when he had the 2-stroke lead on Saturday night. What event was that? Most recently, one of the ones I said I didn't care about, but I remember that. Valspar. Yeah. So that was a spot that week. People thought he was going to get a little bit of ownership and love, and ended up getting squeezed down because the previous week's result or whatever. So I think that Akshay, Rai, and Bez are definitely all going to be the guys you see get the love here. Hostler always gets a little bit of love in Texas. Mav a little bit. Glover.
Yeah, but it's going to be hard for those guys to get too much love if the love is at the very top. And you mentioned Glover. Glover I'm seeing most definitely.
Yeah, I guess the McNeelys and Hostlers of the world is like, yeah, they may only be 10 to 12%, so I'm not worried about that. You can get tons of leverage. I'm just saying they may be around guys that they're 3x
Sure.
There's 3 and 4% guys around them. When we're flipping it to 10 or 12%, that's going to be 3 or 4x. So I think that's the difference in these ranges. Like for example, Putnam down to Hubbard. Maybe Hubbard and Eckroat get a little love, but the rest of the guys look like non-existent.
Yeah, I'm seeing Eckroat with a little bit of love. I love Højgaard at $7,300.
Yeah.
Again, you can make a very good statistical case for him as well because the driver's been really good this year. And when you take a look back when he played this course last year, he was amazing with his irons, chipped everything to like 5 feet and made every single putt. He just must have hit it out of bounds 3 times. I don't know what happened to him. He ended up coming T28, but he dropped almost the most strokes off the tee of anyone who ended up making the cut, which is just not his game at all. Like he generally gains a ton with his driver, and it's the other stuff that lacks. So if he's already shown that he's been comfortable at this course in order to be able to do the rest of his game, and now that his driver is clicking again, I just think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to see. And then I guess if you build out this lineup and you put Glover into it, it's like...
Well, let's go Glover, Ryan Moore, because those guys are super popular.
Ryan Moore?
Yeah.
How much is he?
65.
Okay. So
That gets you back up to 76, which gives you Keith Mitchell.
And it won't be him, so I'll put the actual guy it will be. Let's see.
Who's the actual guy it will be?
76.
It's him or Eric Cole.
Oh, shoot. It's $200. Wow.
We can get down from Glover pretty easily.
I think who else is under Ryan Moore? Because I actually don't have him. Like I have Joel Damon as more ownership than him.
I have Ryan Moore pretty high. Everyone's betting Ryan Moore this week. Everyone's playing the placements on Ryan Moore this week. He's just being written about a ton, like in any sort of content. And I would almost guarantee you the projection models love him as well. Like,
what's he showing up in Fantasy National for actual usage?
10.4% with a projected ownership of 14%.
Wow, I would almost bet under.
I would take under that as well. I could see right around 10% though. Because Novak is also projecting at like 8%, who's exactly the same price. I just feel like people are going to click Moore instead of Novak. I will click Novak instead of Moore. Or Gracerman at 65.
I would definitely take the under 10% on Ryan Moore.
Okay.
Like that's for sure on that one. So I wouldn't be too worried about him. I would say there's not too much love down here though.
Lashley at 62 is going to get love. Matty Schmid. Now I'm saying Schmid, like fucking Paul over there. Matty Schmidt is at 7.7%. He'll probably end up coming in at like 4. But I do think that he is a name just where he's been popping up on leaderboards recently, and he allows you to do a ton. And then there's Damon at 61.
I found it. It can be Damon or Lashley. It can be Lashley with Ludwig or Damon with Matsuyama. But if you fill it out with Bez, Glover, and one of Lashley or Damon, that's really popular.
Yeah, okay. So I think we hit on the lineup, like the chalk lineup. This might be Kenny's cash game lineup. So let's.
I can't remember if Joel Damon was in it or not, but yeah, it's definitely Ludwig, Connors, and someone else. So like just looking at that.
So Ludwig, Connors, Noren is the top of this. Then it's Glover, Damon, Bez.
Yeah, and it's Damon or Lashley. If you think it ends up being one of those two, it's like whoever people go with there. But I agree, it's probably one of those two, and I think people would rather that than Ryan Moore and Keith Mitchell, just because it's kind of like two guys you're pushing versus this is definitely clear cut that Bez range has love. So it's wherever people land in the 6Ks.
I don't see, but where's Bud Cully? Does he have like 80% ownership? He's $6,400. I'd rather use Bud Cully than all those guys. I'd rather use Bud Cully and Bhatia in that lineup.
So if you go Bud Cully with Ludwig, you get 7,700 left,
which is Bhatia, isn't it?
Which is Akshay. Yeah, there you go. That's a nice lineup for the chalk version. Like if you want to take a little bit of a, is it different enough? No, you have Ludwig, Glover, Noren, and Connors together. So it's nothing like that. But I'm saying like for a higher dollar, smaller field, something just where you want to get these guys through the cut. Like I think it's fine. I just think you're going to have to get different this week. So
I can tell you how I'm getting different. I'm not going to play Alex Noren.
Yeah,
easy game.
Yeah, Noren is what, 8,700?
Yeah, I'd rather play Harris English for $300 less. I think Harris English is better than Alex Noren. Call me crazy.
Yeah, I don't mind the Harmon call you had earlier. I don't mind Henley. I don't mind Adam Scott, Tom Kim. Like I think that range has a lot of guys within it.
So
for sure.
we can jig this around a little bit to make a lineup that I like a little bit more. Get rid of Connors. I mean, I'm not going to full fade Connors because I'm not a crazy person, but I can see playing the 20% Connors. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, we gotta play Connors.
Yeah.
And I'm like comfortable with fading him in like my 250 lineup or my 150 lineup this week, like the higher, like whatever. If Connors gets me, he gets me. It happens. And
There's definitely a world too where he just makes the cut and everyone sees it, and then it just falls apart over the weekend or doesn't do nearly enough to be required for those lineups. So I could see that.
so, I like Eric Burns, so I'm gonna have to go from Colley to Burns.
So where are you at right now? You got Barnes.
So I just completely just
Start over. Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's not that I started over. I was kind of like 1v1 to everyone out of this lineup. So I took Ludwig up to Hideki,
Hideki.
and I took Connors up to Morikawa.
Okay.
I took Noren down to Harris English. I made a 1v1 swap, Glover onto Højgaard.
Nikolai.
And then I took down, who did we have? Ryan Moore? Or Bud Collery? Whoever.
Well, in this one, you would be able to fit Akshay still.
Well, who was it?
So this one, the lineup you gave me was Hideki, Morikawa, Harris English, Højgaard, Bhatia, and it lands on Barnes.
Exactly.
And this has...
Look, there it is.
There you go. Yeah, $100 left. I like it.
There was no one at 6,000 that I particularly liked. So
Yeah. This is actually an awesome construction conversation because there is no Rory, there is no 9Ks, and there has to be, regardless of how you think it spreads out in there, is like between Benny Ann, between Corey Connors and Jordan Spieth and some of those guys we talked about, Fleetwood, if people do end up still going there, you're fading the entire range, and then you're also fading the entire sixes while not going crazy in the sevens and playing like Glover and Bez and all those guys mixed together, and then still no Noren and still no Connors. So yeah, definitely a good setup for a roster construction.
So the other way to play this, just take Morikawa out and turn Morikawa into Fleetwood. What can we do then with our extra $1,000? You can turn Bhatia into Harmon if you wanted to. That's one of the possibilities that we have here. You can turn Højgaard into Harris. No,
Do you like Doug Gim though? 6,900 this week. Take Barnes up to Gim, and you'd have Matsuyama, Fleetwood, English, Højgaard, Bhatia, Gim. That's not too bad.
I mean, your boy Adam Schenk is there. Is he going to win this week finally?
I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Is Patrick Rogers going to be you know if Patrick Rogers was the 54-hole leader here last year?
I did see that. Baroff posted it out, I think. What's his price again this week? 6,800.
Yeah, you can get back up to him, or you can do sort of like a half hedge here. You could take Barnes up to, let's say, Chuck Hoffman, if you wanted to. And then you have $500 left, and you could take Højgaard back up to one of those chalkier upper 7K guys. You could take Højgaard and turn him into Aaron Rye if you wanted to. So now you have the second tier of the chalk, English, Bhatia, Rye. No Noren, Horschel, Connors, and that tier of it, because you've replaced him with Fleetwood to go with Hideki, and then just like a loser in the sixes. Pick whoever you want. I just landed on Charlie Hoffman with this one.
Yeah.
I think that's a different way. I think if you can avoid the Noren through Connors, you can basically do whatever you want.
Yeah, or at least separate them. You don't. You don't have to go off both of them, like you said. If you do want to still have a chunk of Corey Connors, maybe just avoid the Connors, Noren, and Glover situation where people are getting that fits in different build styles all over the place. So you end up with a lot of 3v3s or at least close calls with other lineups.
So let's talk about the PM AM then. Unless there's like high stakes wise, do you think you're going to use Rory?
I'm definitely going to use Rory this week.
No, but like let's say you play a 333 single.
He'll be in one of my main lineups for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we do the PM AM, what do we have here? We got Rory and Hideki playing in the PM, along with Spieth. So that's a big gap right there. So if you do play PM AM, there's no Ludwig, Morikawa, Homa, or Fitz as a part of that, or Connors. And that drops you directly onto Fleetwood, Ben Ann, and Noren. So that's an interesting start. I mean, we can cut guys out of this. We don't have to use everyone, obviously, if you're going to do a PM AM. If I'm going to build 20 lineups this way, let's say. Who do you think the cuts would be out of those guys?
Are you talking about starting the lineup with Fleetwood and Noren, like getting different?
No,
that way
I'm
'cause
just
you
saying,
got all
like,
PM
if I'm
guys,
going to
or-
build like a collection of PM AM lineups, I'm going to build 20 of them. I'm building my player pool for them. I don't want to just throw everyone who plays in the PM wave into one. Like, I do still want to differentiate a little bit here, but it goes Rory, Hideki, and then drops down to that tier of Spieth and Fleetwood and Ben Ann together. Then it's like Noren, Henley, Tom Kim, Fowler. That if we can get rid of two of these guys in the middle, like I said, I don't want to play Spieth. I'm not going to play Spieth. Take him out of the pool. Maybe I'll get rid of Noren too. So now I have Hideki or Rory. Almost every lineup will be led by one of those guys or together. And then it'll be Tommy and Ann as either the second or third potentially in, or second and third. And then it will drop down to, let's say, Henley, Tom Kim, Fowler, Bez, Bhatia, that range of guy, Keith Mitchell.
And then you want to keep Glover in or out, or do you like Eckroat or Victor Perez, or like who are some of the PM guys down there? The Shank play is only 6,900. He's PM.
I prefer Eckroat and Perez to Lucas Glover. So I'm good with leaving Glover out. Like, I don't think that he's that much different than any of these guys. If he's going to be double all their ownerships, then I'll just pass.
And then, do you like Glover or Perez?
Perez.
Okay. And then do you like, that doesn't even get you there. What about?
I don't love Shank, but I would add Montgomery into this.
Oh, okay. What about this then?
Gracerman, I'm going to keep in.
And this is not bad. I guess you can get something like this, Pat. You can get Hideki with Fleetwood. Mm-hmm. Then you go Henley in the 8Ks. You still end up with 3 7K guys, but none of the chalk, basically, because you have, Bhatia will get some, but you get your guy Akshay, Eckroat, and Victor Perez. PMAM the whole way.
Akshay, Victor Perez, and Eckroat?
Yeah.
That fits?
And you're going to the low 7s, but no Glover. You're still skipping some of these ranges, like no 6s, no 5s. You only have one 8K guy, and it's not Norin. You only have one 9K guy, and it's not Connors, and you only have one guy up top. And I truly do believe that Ludwig and Rory will come in higher than Hideki. So we'll see. And if it doesn't, it'll be close, and you win your $100. Plus, you still have he's got to be somewhat then kept in check if it's going to get more balanced. Like, that's the key. So I think this is fine. It's really a good lineup, and it's a PMAM that happens to make sense for the wave stack you're looking at as well.
So, for the PMAM at the bottom, if you really wanted to jam Rory with Hideki, which, I'll want to do because that's how I like to play. Gracerman, Colley, both PM guys. What do you make of Svensson, who, showed up last week for 2.5 rounds and just kind of went away?
I usually like him, so...
I'll put Matty Schmidt in as well. He's a PM guy. Yeah, he ended up coming 57th.
So let's do this. The 2 guys you talked about a bunch today that I want to see, are these both PM you said? Was Max and Colley?
Max Gracerman?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both PM
You said
guys.
both PM for those guys. You go Rory and Hideki with those 2. We've got 7,100 left, which we can't quite do Eckroat there.
Colley and Gracerman. Well, I want to see what Eric Barnes is as well, because I like Eric Barnes.
Who's 6,500? Anybody?
Let's see. Wilton Fur. The Wad Fur, as someone pointed out. Do you like Sam Stevens at all?
He came, third here last year? I think
Second
that's the
here last year.
Second, yeah.
Do you keep rolling good times on David Skins? No shirts, just skins?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to make something work, but it's not going to. Who's the other guy down here that we could put in that's not too crazy?
Schmidt.
About
Schmidt.
All right, I got you. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Does it get to Bhatia? It does, doesn't it?
Even better, it gets to Bez.
I like Bhatia better than Bez.
Well, it leaves $200 then. You can do whatever you want with it, but you can go Rory, Hideki. Yeah, and if you leave it and just put Bez.
I have Rory and Aubert again.
Yeah, so Rory, Decky, and then you can get your choice of Bez or Bhatia with Colley, Max Gracerman, and Matty Schmid.
Okay.
So nothing wrong with that. Again, a little bit aggressive with the 6K guys, but not really. Those 6K guys all came through pretty much, or for the most part have been coming through at times. So
I'll let you know who's going to have a great week this week, because I'm finally not letting him ruin all my lineups, is Kevin Yu.
Oh, yeah. What's his price?
6,100.
Oh, even better. We got more money to play with now. Let's take
I'm not playing him.
No?
I refuse to do it. He's just crippled me every single week. Maybe he's just a West Coast swing guy.
Ooh, I can then move Akshay up to Henley.
Baroff loves Grayson.
Yeah, Grayson Murray. I couldn't do it.
He's 5,500. I like him better than Kevin Yu.
Is he afternoon too in our little Bills?
He is. Look at this. At the Players gained off the tee on approach. At Arnold Palmer, he gained off the tee on approach. He's not chipping or putting, but that's kind of his deal.
Is there a guy that's...
That's not horrible.
Man, $100 shy. You is 61.
Oh, he came 16th at Valero 7 years ago? Sign me up.
If you go Akshay, Keith Mitchell, you can do that, but I was trying to find another way.
I was just trying to see who rates out really well. Ben Martin actually does rate out well. Do we go back to Parker Cootie?
Could.
You see the Cooties are playing together at the Zurich?
Oh, yeah. There's 3 brother groups.
Yeah, there's the Fitzpatricks are playing together, the Cooties are playing together, and the Hoygards are playing together.
Yes.
That actually kind of makes the tournament more fun in my mind. Like, the tournament needs something to make it fun. And those stupid fucking walk-up entrance music things are not it.
That ain't it. Yeah, the Netflix special, the Full Swing season 2 just came out, and came out recently, and that had a whole like dialogue on the Fitzpatricks at the Zurich and how it's like the little brother, big brother thing, and then he outdoes them at the Open, right when he got in on his own. So pretty interesting. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You know who I do actually like is Chez Reavie, and he's $5,400.
So you play him instead of Grayson Murray.
You play him instead of Murray. So take Schmidt down to Chez. Now what do we got cooking here? Do we got Herman?
I'm
We almost have Fleetwood.
Instead of Schmidt, who did you have in there? You said
I put in Reavie.
no, but who was the other cheap guy that you had then?
I had Cully, Gracerman, and Schmidt in.
Oh, Collie.
So now with Reavie, if you take Bhatia out,
It keeps landing on Mitchell. I don't know if this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing, and he happens to be afternoon, but you can get like Rory, Hideki, Akshay, Keith Mitchell, Bud Colley, and Chez Reavie. And it's like a lot of the guys you liked or were in on, and it's in your PMA. I get it. That's where it sets up for. But did you see last week too? Like it was what we talked about on the show. Like Rye and Jaeger were in that range that was just completely overlooked. And you could definitely build Scotty lineups with them. So where Scotty came in second, whether or not he ended up being needed, the point was more those lineups set up that way. So if you go with like Rory.
oh yeah, look at that. Rory, Hideki with Bhatia and Mitchell, and then Cully and Reavie.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I was just saying.
How can it lose?
Very easily, I think.
No, I doubt it because I'm entering it right now. Winner.
We'll find out. What about like Rory and then dropping down to the 8K range?
Rory then 8s.
Like Henley and Tom Kim, and it still leaves you 7K.
Or what do you make of Fowler?
Not that interested.
Out? Okay, I'll get rid of Fowler.
He's been actually good here, but I just
Yeah, but it's hard to say that people have been really good here because, I mean, this is the best. I can't remember a Valero field that was this good. It's usually like 3 guys and a bunch of scrubs.
I brought that up on other shows this week, but like like last year when Corey Connors won, like there was 12 of the top 14 not here. Like, so he won again. Yes, that's awesome. And he's very good and whatever. But it's like there was 12 of these guys that weren't here.
No one enjoys making a cut and then playing terrible more than Chan Kim. It's unbelievable.
Hole in one though, baby. I think you had it on Saturday or Sunday.
It was on Sunday. It was on Thursday. He had the hole in one. Then he almost made a
was it
hole in one again on the same hole on the weekend. He
I
put
think it
like a
was
foot.
one of those guys, Highsmith or Bridgman, that ended up having like a hole out eagle on the weekend or Sunday.
That was
Highsmith?
Highsmith, the man in the Highsmith.
Yes.
Yeah, so Chan Kim came 58th last week, but gained a bunch off the tee, gained a bunch on approach. Obviously, you're going to when you have a hole in one, but lost 4.3 strokes on the green, 1.6 before that, 3.5 at the Players. But he just keeps making the cut every week.
I'll try Tom Kim before Chan Kim.
Well,
Pay
I
the
mean,
extra.
there is like a $3,000 difference between them.
I'll figure it out somewhere else. I'll pay it.
I'm just trying to find other like cheap PM guys that are down there. So he is one of them. David Skins is another. Higo was making everything.
Yeah.
Either Saturday or Sunday, like from the bunker, chipping in. It was a very, very classic Garrick performance.
I think you have a good pool though. Like when you have guys like Reavie and Schmidt and
but
Grazeman
I'm just trying to talk it through here and trying to
I like
find
those
if there's any
guys.
action. What about Custy Pete? He ended up qualifying.
No, not for me.
Man called Quest?
Peter.
A Pete called Quest. Pearson Cootie?
Peter Quest. I was just thinking of that with his name, but yeah. The Parker Cootie one maybe.
Not Pearson Cootie?
No. Peter Quest, 5,200. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. He ended up Monday queuing. He's in. And like he had some decent run last year, man.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I think this was the one.
Get him in the pool, yeah.
Let's see.
What's
The
this
last
lineup
time
look
that
like?
he played, he was 13th at the RSM and was just terrible. He just drives it and putts it. He's basically like Jabroni Bryson.
What about extremely interesting way to use Norin.
I don't want to use Norin.
But listen to this lineup. Rory, Norin, Henley, Akshay, Bez, and Peter Quest. If you got Rory winning it, I mean, those guys could definitely, you could see like Bhatia and Bez and Henley be up the board. If
for
Norin comes
100%.
through, then like, yeah.
Like Henley is kind of, I mean, he's one of the names that I should have used in the one and done as well. Just like, oh yeah, of course Henley would just show up and win this tournament. When like his odds are the same. His odds I think are the same this week or worse than they were at fucking the API 3 weeks ago. Or
Yeah.
at like the Players.
Man, what if you start lineups with Spieth for the PM?
Well, then you're just going to lose all your money when he misses the cut.
But if you go like Spieth Fleetwood and wrap Corey Connors without using them and just cover both sides, you have 7,800 left. And then you said like Russell Henley could show up. I've mentioned Tom Kim. You like Akshay, and then that leaves you Glover chalk. It's like just an example, but it projects well, and it's like I don't see how that's very popular. Like Spieth, Fleetwood, Henley, Tom Kim, Akshay, and Glover. That's got to be good 6 of 6 odds, and that's got to be good. Like you could definitely see the winner being in that group. Spieth, Fleetwood, Henley, Tom Kim, Akshay, and Glover. Those are potential winners.
I would tend to agree with you. Yeah,
So-
I think that's a lot of win equity in a lineup for a tournament like this.
If you think Rory's a loser, that's a lineup for you.
Unfortunately, I don't think Rory's a loser.
I don't either this week. I'm just saying, or in general, but I mean others do. And I'm just saying this is the type of lineup you'd probably want to build out. 2 9s, 2 8s, 2 7s. High stakes, smaller field. No Connors still. No Noren, the two guys you were trying to be off of. No Ludwig, Hideki, or Rory up top. And then not trying to figure out who the guy below him is. So, yeah, I think that was a takeaway that I had is like something like this.
This lineup might have, my build might have 14 lineups with Gracerman, huh? That's probably too many, huh?
We're building a lot of lineups today.
Which I just went on Fantasy
mixtures.
National to generate some lineups. There we go. That's a bit more even. So at the bottom end of my 6K guys, I built 20 lineups of this PM AM stack. So I have Taylor Montgomery, Gracerman, Bud Colley, Matt Schmidt, Chan Kim, and Shez Reavie as a part of this build. And
Do you look at that stuff when you're doing it for like how many are Rory Hideki combos? Like, did you just get stuck with all those? Not saying stuck in a bad way.
well-
Maybe it ends up being great.
Well,
I mean,
I think that most of them are. Like I have 14 Hideki lineups of 20 and 13 Hideki, or 14 Rory lineups and 13 Hideki lineups as a part of this. So inevitably, I have a lot of crossover.
oh, for sure. I just think that's one of the things people should do when they're building in sets or looking at this stuff. It's another added strategy tip. But like, I think that's what happens. The optimizer will tend to go that way. And maybe for good reason. It's Rory and Hideki, the class of the field at the top. I'm just saying that's where you get different. Like last week, if you went Scotty with Wyndham or Scott, like people were doing lineups like that, and for whatever reason,
I had one of those.
right. But if you really ended up needing something like a Scotty Jaeger, maybe another 9K guy or 8K guy, whatever range she was in, I forget now. But my point being, it's just a different build. So you should still have like roster construction styles within your sets, so that you're not cornered.
Yes, and I find that like because the Fantasy National lineup builder isn't an optimizer, it just will like you can set your percentages of what you want. So I decreased Rory, increased Hideki. So I do have a lot of like Rory and Hideki lineups. I think I have 9 of them in the set of 20, which I'm good with.
That's fine.
Which
Yeah.
I want, but I also have a lot of like Hideki, Fleetwood, and Tom Kim lineups, like stuff like that,
Yeah.
where it just kind of takes out the middle. And Rory with Henley, Tom Kim, and Ben Ann, and then like 2 scrubs at the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's giving me just different looks and lineups, and I can still edit the guys around of what I want. It didn't give me a ton of Hogard or Mitchell, though.
Yeah, so they'll call it like exposure stacks or combos and things like that. Like what you're actually landing on. People don't consider that enough, and that's a big part of PGA DFS. Like where the Connors lineups, a lot of them are going to be with Noren and or Glover. If it could be both, or it could be one of those guys. If you said like a rule of at most one, it's not like predicting it or knowing it. I'm saying that's when people see lineups. They go, oh, all the chalk hit. They do this all the time in NFL, right? We do NFL shows. Oh, it was basically a cash game lineup. No, it wasn't. Like there was 3 guys under 5% in the lineup. It was still correlated well, and they didn't use A, B, and C of the highest owned chalk guys. So it's like there was chalk in there, but it was built differently. It's the same thing in golf. Like if Connors gets there, everyone will be like, the chalk smashed again. It's another shitty PGA week, but it's like they didn't have Glover. They didn't have Noren. They didn't have this, and they built it completely different. So you do have to consider that stuff when you're doing it, and especially if you're building in sets, you can make sure you've got yourself not completely backed into one corner. Again, risk versus reward, whatever you want to do, but I'm just letting people know that's another thing that you want to look at within your portfolio.
All right, let's roll it into AM PM now. This is going to have to be like the chalky side of the build, right?
Yes. This is where there's probably like AM, PM lineups you can build that just are the chalk, right?
I would think so, because Ludwig...
Yeah, maybe Glover's afternoon, so maybe not him, but I think people could move off that, and you'd end up probably with like maybe McNeely would get a bigger boost there because he's $100 more, and the guy that I think people would lean to in that wave. Even though you like Nikolai there, for example, I think McNeely would be where people lean to.
Oh yes, I completely agree.
So that would be...
I can build a really... Who's the one guy that I want to... So Aaron Rye is a part of this. I don't love Eric Cole, so I'll probably end up leaving him out. Hostler, there's McNeely. Let's throw him in. You like EVR, right?
It's probably fine. I can't find it, though, because if you go like Ludwig, Connors, Rye, McNeely, that might be where it starts. But then where does it go after that? Like, who's the other guy that gets the boost?
So here's what I was thinking with this one, because everyone's going to, like you said, default to Ludwig, Connors lineups, right?
Yeah.
What if we do Homa, Fitzpatrick, Harmon, Scott? That still only leaves you 6,600. Okay, I thought I was being a bit more sneaky with that. I'm not.
Well, you can take, you have to pick between Homa and Fitzpatrick and go to Horschel.
Okay, let's take Homa out and we'll go to Horschel.
Okay.
So now we have, actually, you know what? I don't even want to go to Horschel. I want to go to Harris English, who I like better.
There you go.
And that leaves us 7,400. So you get Nikolai and Hostler, I think, if you wanted to. Or you could have Aaron Rye and Sam Ryder, who I like.
Oh, you can go Hostler Mav, just like that.
You
For
go-
what people would do there, probably, I'm saying, if you go Fitzpatrick, and then you get Harmon, Scott, English, the 3-8K guys, you land on Hostler and McNeely. You don't have Glover. You don't have Norin. You don't have Connors. You still have a AM/PM lineup. That's
I would prefer Ryder Rye for that same amount of money. It leaves $100 on the table. But that's the lineup that I would like more.
Rye is AM as well, and you're saying Ryder at 7,100
7,000
or 7,000.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
we had
like-
700 left.
I actually
Yeah,
like
that's right.
Ryder this week.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm usually out on him.
That actually projects a little bit better too, because of Rye. But again, this would be my question. Again, how the waves actually end up going, who knows or who cares if it even matters. I'm saying like the setup of what we're building for is this. The lineup we previously had with, remember the middle of the road, like guys that I said we could see like Spieth that had all those guys that we were talking about. This one would be English, Fitzpatrick, Harmon, Scott, Rye, Ryder. This feels the same way. It's like if you're off the guys at the top and you don't care about Ludwig or Connors, you're pretty much, or Rory, obviously, then you're pretty much saying that this is going to be a 6-6 and has win equity in it because this would be the next group of guys you would see winning. That happened to be in the AMP time.
Yeah,
Tea time.
I know that he's wildly inconsistent for a tournament like this. Like Fitzpatrick is so boom or bust. Like he's either going to be inside the top 5 or he's going to miss the cut. Those are his two most likely outcomes. It feels like at this point that I don't think that he should be that much cheaper than Ludwig and Hideki and those guys. Like feel like he should be a bit more expensive than he actually is.
Yeah, and I think people will have a lineup like this with instead of Fitzpatrick, they'll have Connors, obviously, and instead of a guy like Ryder, they'll have McNeely. Because then it's Connors, Harmon, Scott, Rye, English, McNeely. It's still much lower owned than some of those other builds, but you're still getting to utilize a chalk piece in Corey Connors. But you'd have to think that's a different way to use Connors, right? Your first guy in, 3 8K guys that really nobody's on, and then Rye and McNeely. Like you can mix Rye and McNeely up to whatever you want. I'm just saying that would be a different way. And all AM guys.
Say that one again. So Connors is the first guy in.
Yep. And then you go 3 8K guys, Harmon, Scott, English. Then you get Rye and McNeely. And it's all AM guys. And there's no Rory, Hideki, Ludwig, Norin, Glover, etc.
Morikawa.
None of those guys. And so it has to be a different way. You're starting with Corey Connors. Most are probably using him as a second guy in. You're going all AM. Most are mixing for good reason. Whatever. It's fine to do, obviously. And then the other one being you eliminate all those other chalk pieces. You don't use 10K or above. You don't use 6K or below.
You know who I didn't mix into our PM stacks? Rico Hui.
Yeah, there you go.
$5,300.
Yeah, you can go there if you
Guy's a
want.
legend.
This lineup would be exactly what I was talking about earlier, though, where people would be like, yep, chalk Corey Connors, breaks another fun slate onto the master. Like in the end, even like people are like, that sucks. Connors just broke the slate and wins. But it's like, were you really playing him this way with none of those guys, one wave only, English, Harmon, and Scott in the mix with him? Probably not. And that's what I'm saying. People are bitching about stuff like this. And what's wrong with it? Seems fine.
Okay, let's make an adjustment to that version of the lineup then. Like, how can we make this a little bit better that I like a little bit more? Like, I like Ryan McNeely, but is there a way that we can plan this out a little bit? Should I throw do you think Damon will be too popular to throw? Like, Damon will be fine, right?
He'll be
like
fine, I think.
7% maybe.
Yeah.
Do we even like Damon?
I don't know if I do, but
Yeah, I was just going to think, like, that's always one good way to talk. I'll use Chandler Phillips instead. Wilson Phillips. We can combine. Wilson Furr is another one of these guys that's just a guy. No idea what any of these guys look like. I made Cuss feel real bad in our group chat this week because we were talking about it on Sunday, like who's not going to win, who's going to win, that kind of thing. He's like,
right.
Well, I'm going to go with David Skins, and I was like, man, Cuss, you just cursed him because he's black, didn't you?
Oh,
he's like,
God.
well, I didn't mean to do that. It's like, Cuss, he's not black. Like, you have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, and he's also the guy we talked about earlier. You turn on the TV and he looks like Champion Store. But speaking of these names, McClure, our guy, screwed us last week. 68 out of the gate.
I didn't use him, so he didn't screw me. I just
68 out of the gate. I was getting tags. Everyone was talking me up. The Discord was getting me. Everybody on it. And then he shoots the 75 in round 2, misses the cut.
Do I throw Gim into this?
Doug.
Dougie? Dougie Doug.
So how much is he?
69.
So let's put Gim and Phillips in.
Gim and Phillips instead of Ryan McNeely?
That has to get us something better. And then you like English. Who would you trade of Harmon, Scott?
Scott. I like Scott the least of those guys.
So what about... Ooh, we're $100 short. Okay, I need to leave Scott just to tell you this lineup. Because
Okay.
you might like it. Hideki.
But no, Hideki's not a part of this wave.
Sorry, I meant to go Ludwig.
Okay.
And now I can fix it back. We're good. We solved the problem. It's even better for you now. Ludwig, Matt Fitzpatrick, then you go Harmon, English, Doug Gim, and Chandler Phillips. Nobody
works.
has that lineup. And that's guys you liked, and that's...
I do right now.
we all do.
Enter.
The 10 people that tagged us too are like, I do this every week. Check out my lineups. I was like, oh, they actually do.
So playing AM only with Connors is one way to get different with Connors. And I think playing him with Morikawa is the other way to get different.
Yeah, we didn't do anything with Morikawa. I'm definitely playing him in one and done this week.
I'm going to be using, I might even, just by the time you read the newsletter tonight, I might have sold myself on Morikawa. And then I will somehow be pissed at myself when he shoots 7 under. Maybe I should just bet him as first round leader.
That too.
Bamford brought that up yesterday with Rory. It's just like, just bet Rory first round leader. He's better odds, and he actually is the first round leader a lot.
He is.
So-
That's the thing, right? Even last week, that was the conversation. He didn't quite get there, but Scotty, right? In the end, you wouldn't have won. You would have hated your life because you bet him at 3-1 or whatever, and it didn't get there. But the first round leader was better odds, and it almost got there. It was very close.
So Morikawa Connors, interesting start.
Colin, Morikawa, and Connors is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
So here are some of the other guys in the AM. I've kind of whittled down the list. Do you like Putnam at all? You generally like Putnam.
I don't know.
I always feel like he's a big your boy Lee on like the course fit rankings. Like Putnam just seems to be a guy who's always in them.
Let me see. How much is he this week?
He is 72, I think. 70.
He's not in them this week.
72.
You know who's in the course fit rankings this week? Your boy, Nikolai.
Hoygaard?
Yeah.
He should be. Like when I saw this course, I was like, this is perfect for him. That's why I bet him.
Yeah.
So here's like the group I have to build the 20 lineups. We can take guys in and out of this if we want to. Ludwig, Morikawa, Homa, Fitzpatrick, Spieth, Connors, Horschel, Harmon, Scott, Harris English, Bez. No, Bez is not a part of this. I need to take him out. Rye. So Harris English, Rye, McNeely, Hoygaard, Sam Ryder, Doug Gim, Cooch, Novak, Ryan Moore, Charlie Hoffman, Chandler Phillips, and Eric Barnes are like the AM guys that I have started right now. I'm going to take Spieth out because I don't want to play him. Just launch him. Would you launch Horschel or do you like Horschel?
God, it lands in the same spot every time. I'm trying to find the finish for you here just to get it. But who's the guy in the upper sixes that you were the
Gim?
highest on? Gim? It's 8.
Gim or Ryder?
How much is Ryder?
Ryder's 7,000. Then it's like Cooch and Novak.
So we need to drop down. Oh, Cooch. Cooch might do the job. No, he doesn't. We need lower than Cooch still.
Novak,
I think we need lower. How much is Novak?
65.
Okay, we might be $100 off.
Charlie Hoffman at 64.
All right, that'll do it.
All right, hit me with it.
All right, you get Morikawa, Connors, your boy Harris English, Nikolai, and then you get Hoffman, and it lands on Scott. If you can go lower than Hoffman, you can get your Harmon play in there.
Can I go lower than him? I can go to Chandler Phillips at 63 if I wanted to. That's a guy.
Chandler Phillips at 63?
At 6,000.
Or sorry, at 6,000, you could get to Horschel.
I'd rather have Harmon.
Okay.
Spawn is here. Spawn won this tournament, if you remember.
Yeah, Spawn AM too in your build?
Spawn is AM. We also have Toasty. We
Oh,
going back
man.
to Toasty?
No, but this lineup you
Why
found is
don't
good.
you like Toasty? We want to see this guy.
Kenny loves him.
We want to see this guy in Montreal, Tambo. He
Everyone-
will make the President's Cup fun again.
I think it's going to be fun either way.
No,
but it would be good if he was there. Yeah.
Our poor internationals are going to get beat so badly. We need to have someone on our team who's fun.
It's all about the atmosphere. We're gonna be in good shape.
He will bring. So okay, here's Spawn last week.
I like Spawn. That's why I found him.
Spawn gained 6.2 strokes on approach last week.
Here's the winning lineup right here. We finally found it.
Okay.
Morikawa, Connors, your boy Harmon, your boy English, your boy Nikolai, and JJ Spawn rounds it out.
Easy game.
That is a good lineup. Right
We've already built 3 lineups that are going to win. How is this even possible?
We've actually built 30 for me, but yeah, 30
How have
lineups.
you built 30? I have like 5 entries in.
I don't know. Just when we're going through and you say stuff, I just play it. So maybe this will be the week. The in-studio win. Peak it, get it ready just before a major next week with the Millie makers everywhere and get after it there.
I'm giving away $750. Just straight up cash
Nice.
to people for rating and reviewing the Pat Mayo experience on Apple and Spotify. And if you use code Mayo to sign up for Underdog, or if you've previously done that, you will be eligible to be in that draw as well. So if you've been on the fence about it, go do it right now. And there's that special giveaway as well. You get the free square with Scotty just by being on Underdog, because that's the promotion for Masters. But you also get an additional free square by using code Mayo with Jordan Spieth as well for the Thursday. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. We like free money.
Yeah, so you can hype that one up on Degenerates this next week as well, because it'll work with the codes over there. Spawn. Just trying to see if there's anyone else down here that I want to use. The stats fucking love Damon. Love him.
The screen kicked him off as soon as you said his name.
I just don't know what to do.
I like that last one we had. I think
The putting
Spawn.
has been so bad for Damon. So bad.
The other thing too is, like, I know you said it's not a big deal, like if he gets to 7 to 10%, but that's where then there's like all these 0.5ers and 1%ers around him. There is lots of ways to build differently with them.
But
I can just get off him too and go somebody else.
I get that, but I don't know who around him I actually like. Like, I mean,
I
yeah.
thought you liked a lot of guys down here.
I mean, I like some of the guys. I like Chandler Phillips. I like Eric Barnes, but that's really about it. CT Pan, maybe.
Well, the other thing too, I mean, we saw it today through the roster construction builds. We didn't need the 6K range as much as we thought. Like the 7s still got us there with good guys, and even on lineups. The other thing is too is like anybody who's building out there, not just you and I, but if you're not in on Rory and you don't love Hideki and Ludwig, like then you really don't need much. Like you can get 4 of those guys in and only have to pick 1 down there or something. Like there's still a way to build a ton of upside into your lineup if you're comfortable with that. The thing is, nobody actually knows what's going to happen. So again, it's not always about what you're comfortable with. Be comfortable being uncomfortable in knowing that your build is built so that if the top fails, you have the ability to get there and do it in a different way. So I think that's one thing, again, people overlook as well. It's just, oh, but I'm so scared of Rory. Okay, then you better build with Rory.
Yeah, then just use Rory. Like that seems like a super easy fix.
You're answering your own question. Yeah, exactly. And you have to build that way. But then people go to Rory and then they're like, yeah, in order to get Rory, I had to go with Phillips and Hoffman and Ryder. And then it's like, well, then you just said you were scared of those guys. So maybe you have to balance that, get to the lineup that you feel comfortable with, and then roll it out from there.
All right, that will do it. Actually, no, we have to head-to-head draft.
Head-to-head draft, for sure.
Head-to-head draft. Here we go. Let's.
All right, let's try this again.
All right, so
You're up first.
I'm up to, what is it, 5-2 now in the head-to-head draft? 5-2-1. I still can't believe we died.
That's crazy. It's completely different. 6v6.
Yeah, with 6, you can't draft the
to
same
a
people.
.10 or whatever it was. Like, yeah, it's nuts.
Gotta get myself back in this, back in the lineup building page here. All right, so I get the first pick with this.
I'm switching up my strategy this week. You go ahead.
Are you gonna take good players this time? Try
just-
that one out.
I'm going to try taking good players, yes. Just try and taking the players that are at the top of my board.
I will take Harris English as my first pick.
All right, Rory it is.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go from Rory.
You're gonna take Jordan Spieth too and just lose all your money?
No. We're not doing that this week. We're going to find the next guy that I feel good about here. And let's see. It's just the problem is, and you just kind of take whoever you want down low. I guess that's how I'll look at it. But I think I'm going to go with, see, you have a strategy and then you just go away from it right away.
Well, it makes it tough too because I'm going to inevitably probably take one of the guys that you want to take, and then it blows up your entire spot, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. I just don't know. Like, man, I think I'm going to go with Henley.
Okay, so you're going Rory Henley to start?
Yeah.
So I went with Harris English. My next 2 selections are going to be Matsuyama and Bhatia.
Matsuyama and Bhatia. And I'm going to go with What's that leave me? I'm going to go with Bez and Glover.
Bez and Glover?
Yeah.
What does that do for me? Oh, spicy. All right. I'm going to go with Nikolai Højgaard and Eric Barnes as my next two. So 73 and 59 to go with Bhatia, Matsuyama, and Harris English.
Glover. Okay, and then I'm rounding out here. So just 1 second. I just got to compare a couple options.
Mm-hmm.
Take
your time, sir.
I don't want to take too long. We're on a show here, but let's see what we got. If I go with him,
I didn't end up doing an AM PM for this. I just kind of mixed and match who like my favorite guys are. In this lineup for me, like I know that I'm beating you and I beat you a bunch of weeks in a row, but like the lineup that I've used against you has actually been a really good lineup that cashes in GPPs, which is the weirdest thing about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tom Kim and Kevin Yu.
Because I said I didn't like him, not using him.
No,
My last pick is going to be Colin Morikawa.
Okay, so we'll recap yours in a second because I want to put it in so I know what I'm up against here, and we'll get the projection. So I have Rory, Henley, Tom Kim. Rory, 2 8K guys. Then I drop to the 7s. I go Bez and Glover, the chalk, and then I go to Kevin Yu to round it out. It comes in at around 395. Let's go Pat, or let's clear this first. Let's go Pat. And then you have
Hideki and Morikawa.
Hideki Kawa.
Harris English Bhatia.
English and Akshay.
Højgaard.
And this is a good lineup.
And Eric Barnes.
Also, mine was PME, just for fun.
And that I have $100 left over in this lineup, so I could have used Bridgeman, Chandler Phillips, like all those guys.
I'm losing again. Projected by 24 points above you.
Yeah, it's because they disrespect Eric Barnes.
That's why. That's probably the reason why. Really?
That's a winner right there. Let's roll.
It has been every other week, so I wouldn't expect any.
Let's roll it into 6 and 2 as I go into the Masters, and somehow I'll lose my Rory bet with you, and then I'll lose at the Masters, and somehow I'll be in the hole to you anyway, despite winning every single week. Because that's how it works. You're good at making the money. I'm good at like randomly throwing out certain things that we don't compete on.
Yeah.
For too much money to win at. You let me win the easy ones so you can take me on the big ones. Is that what you're doing?
I just want to win the big prizes. That's why I'm saving it. I don't want to peak with the Pat Mayo head-to-heads. I want to make sure I'm hitting on these big tournaments.
So that will do it on the Pat Mayo experience. What do you guys got going on at Ship It for Masters Week?
Lots right now.
Lots.
Baseball's back for sure. You can use promo code Mayo, get 10% off. We have MLB-only packages, PJ-only packages, to your point that you make with Fantasy National. Now you sign up for a week. On Wednesday, it's $14. You sign up, you'll get through to the Masters, so you can just check it out if you want to see what's going on. We had a promo for that too. So, I mean, there's lots of stuff going on that way. And then our show this afternoon will be 2:30 Eastern with Hoop and myself, more giveaways, stuff like that. But Masters Week's going to be good. More big announcements coming up soon as well.
Ooh, big announcements. I like that.
We got Phase 3 and Phase 4. Two big ones are on the way.
Why don't you just call it both Phase 3?
Because they're going to come at separate times. We just want to keep the hype that there is a 4 to the 3. It's like Avatar, the movie. Remember that? Like they didn't just say we've got a sequel coming. They said, 2 and 3 are going to come out. And then it's like 10 years later, and 2 is the only one that's come out so far. But the hype is still there if you're an Avatar fan.
I can't say that on the show or I will get banned by YouTube. But either way, you should subscribe to fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. Get the weekly right now. Get you Valero and the Masters. Combo deal, all in one. Best deal in the biz. Best get it right now. Code Mayo at underdogfantasy.com as well. We'll get you a deposit match of up to $100. You can go join in the Pat Mayo Experience Classic right now. Finish off those rake-free drafts. Get in the Albatross for major season. And then if you use Code Mayo right now, you get a Scotty Scheffler free square for Thursday at the Masters and a Jordan Spieth free square at the Masters only by using Code Mayo. And if you screenshot that you use Code Mayo to me, you can be a draw of one of 3 prizes of $250, cold hard cash, directly wired to you as well. All right? I'm Pat Mayo. Tune in tomorrow for the best players, the unofficial World Golf Rankings. All right? I'll see you then.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!